how hard it is to take time out of your busy schedule to get to this every month, because I'm sure we all think about that. But I think there's no greater gift to give ourselves as professionals than to block out a couple of hours once a month to go to bed. Because what we do is raining back in our work life, and so it's good that you're all here. I want to tell you, before I introduce our speakers today, I want to tell you about next month to entice you to come back. Because there's so many of you who are new and who are guests who hope to see your faces again. We're trying to give some positive programs every month, trying to respond to the survey questions. You'll get a survey. Probably by the time you get in your car to leave, Julia will have sent a survey. But do fill it out, because I look at that very carefully, and any feedback you have about program ideas, things you'd like to hear about, things that you need as a professional, somebody did read it, so take your time to fill that out and give us your feedback. Next month, Kathleen Osta is a woman I met, I'm guessing 2 years ago, and I went to a workshop down in Henderson County that was sponsored by the Community Foundation and United Way, and I walked in the room, and they said, we're going to do a session on how to facilitate groups. And I'll be honest, I went, really? I mean, I've been doing this a long time. Seriously, there's nothing new about this. This woman is fantastic. It's called Technology of Participation, and she does a really fantastic job of giving you some tools that you will use over and over and over again, whether it's a small meeting or it's a big group, it's a church retreat, you're doing it at home. It's all about how do you facilitate a meeting so that there's optimal participation. And I'm sure you've all walked away from the meeting and gone, gosh, nobody talked. How do I engage people? I guarantee you this is a tool that you'll use forever. She does a 2-day workshop. She's going to give us the 45-minute tour of it to whet your appetite a little bit. But one of the things she did ask me, to make it real, she wants to use a real example of something that we're going to, as a group, she's going to help facilitate our group so that we learn how to use her tools. So on your table are index cards in bright colors. Her question to us is, what is an issue or an area of change in fundraising that we're experiencing? She wants to come up with something for us to talk about that's real to us as professionals. So think about that. What's a new development in fundraising, or what's an area of concern? What's something that's significant that's happening in fundraising? It could be, what do we do about millennials? Maybe that's a topic. Or it could be, what's the Ice Bucket Challenge all about? How do you replicate something like that? So, think about that. Leave your cards on the table or hand them to me when you're walking out, but that would help Kathleen help us have a great session next month. So today, I'm really happy about today because we're going to learn about a great resource in our community that some of you may be very well aware of, and some of you may not have a clue that this resource is available to us. So Western North Carolina Nonprofit Pathways is a great organization, and we have Lance Edwards and Jeannette Butterworth who are with us today. You guys can make your way up here. Jeanette's a program consultant with Pathways. She's been with them for 3 years, and she brings over 15 years of experience into the nonprofit world in management, development, grant writing. So she's going to help us understand what Nonprofit Pathways is all about. Lance is the Vice President of Community Investment for United Way of Asheville and Buncombe County, but he serves on the steering committee of Pathways, which is why he is here, and he's very involved with that organization as well. So I'm going to turn this over to them and let them tell you all about Pathways. Thank you for being here.
Thank you all for having us here today, for inviting us to be with you. There are a lot of familiar faces.
Can you hear Jeannette back there? You're going to have to think about your kids sitting back there.
Oh, I can do that. Great. Well, thank you for having us. There are a lot of folks here that we have worked with in the past, so it's good to see those familiar faces, and it's good to see lots of new faces. And I hope that you've learned about Pathways, and if you hear something in this presentation that feels like it might be good for your organization, then get in touch with us afterwards, and we would love to have a conversation about what you need and what we offer and how we can help. Lance is going to start us off, and then we'll pick up in just a second.
So I just wanted to start off giving you guys a brief overview of where Pathways came from, our existence, kind of our foundation and formation, and why it's relevant that I'm here as from United Way of Asheville, Buncombe County. We'll kind of tie it together. Some of you may know the history, but many of you maybe don't so much. But to start off, I just wanted to share with you our mission of Pathways, strengthening organizations that are vital to the future of Western North Carolina. So it's a very broad mission, very important mission, and really speaks to the organizations that you work for and all the other organizations that create such a vibrant tapestry of nonprofits that our region is blessed with. And specifically, we have an 18-county region. You can see here on the map, far east as Avery, Burke, and Rutherford, as far west as Cherokee, Graham, and Clay, and everywhere in between. Yes?
Is there a sister organization if we have somebody that's from like the Hickory area?
Yes and no. There's not a true sister organization. There are other capacity building entities in North Carolina. They all operate quite differently, and no one way is better or worse. But there are other entities in Winston-Salem, Greensboro area, Wilmington, and maybe somewhere else in the state. But this is with full transparency, it's a pretty unique model in terms of the comprehensiveness of Pathways in terms of supporting the capacity of nonprofits.
There's the North Carolina Center for Nonprofits is also a resource, and we are similar but very different from them, but they're a statewide membership organization, and they can often connect you with resources that you need across the state.
So in terms of Pathways and our history in terms of the funders and the relationship to funders, is as you see here, there are the circle at the top, which is the Community Foundation of Western North Carolina, Cherokee Preservation Foundation, United Way of Asheville and Buncombe County, and Mission Health, which has a community benefits program, does significant grant making in the region as well. The four of us got together in around 2006 and created what is now WNC Nonprofit Pathways. It is much more robust and expansive now than it was then, but the intent and the purpose of its formation holds true today, which is around providing capacity for nonprofits. What we all have in common is that we all invest dollars, but those dollars come from various places, where donor advised funds or funds through the healthcare system, through Cherokee and their investment income stream, or through 9,000 individual donors to United Way. The commonality of those four of us as funders is that we are investing back in nonprofits, hundreds of nonprofits in total, and it's in our best interest and in our donors' best interest to support organizations that are well run, viable, well managed, have a robust fundraising arm where they can have diverse funding streams, a strong board of directors, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And as you all know, that does not happen on its own. It doesn't happen without strong leadership. It doesn't happen, or it's harder to occur if there are not funders who understand that reality. So we're all proud in one sense that we are the kind of the backbone funders of this work. Also, we're just doing our role as funders. We should be doing this. So we don't deserve that much of a pat on the back, because all funders, in my opinion, should be supporting the capacity of the organizations that they are asking to do such great work. We do also have some other additional funding: H.G. Reynolds Charitable Trust, Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina Foundation, the Duke Endowment, and Duke Energy Foundation. So those funders provide support for Pathways around some specific work that we do in the region, but the core work and funding is from the four funders that I just mentioned. In terms of our oversight and who operates Pathways or governs Pathways, it is not a nonprofit. There is no 501c3 status that exists as part of this. It's a funders collaborative, and all the financial activity happens under the gracious leadership of Community Foundation of Western North Carolina. So they are our fiscal host. We did not, by design, apply for a 501c3 status and to add to one more nonprofit, but rather wanted to honor the original intent of being a true funders collaborative. So we, instead of having an advisory committee, which is 14 folks that are representatives of the nonprofit community, a couple of members are here today from that advisory committee, some consultants and others. And then we have a steering committee, which is comprised of 2 representatives from each of the 4 funders. So it's 8 folks, myself and David Bailey from United Way, and then the other 4 funders, Cherokee, Mission, and Community Foundation, also have 2 representatives on the steering committee. And then lastly, we have the coordinating consultants. We have 2 of them with us today, and then Cindy McMahon is our lead consultant for the work of Pathways. And they all 3 work officially part-time, but are quite busy providing the robust services that you'll hear Jeannette tell you about throughout the region.
So I wanted to start off by talking about this term capacity building, because for me, for many years, that was kind of this ethereal term that didn't mean that much to me. So I want to ask y'all, what does it mean to y'all? What does capacity building look like for you and your organizations? Just shout it out.
Raising money.
Yeah.
What was that?
Raising money.
Raising money. Raising money.
Fundraising.
Fundraising.
Community partnerships.
Partnerships.
Staffing.
Staffing. Governance, right? So if you break it down, capacity building, capacity is the ability to do something, to experience something, or understand something. So imagine doing all that y'all are doing, your programs, your board, fundraising, without capacity to do it. The capacity building is increasing an organization's ability to achieve its mission and to be sustainable. And that's the work of Pathways and our funders, to help nonprofits build that capacity and be successful for the long haul. So why is capacity building important for development or for fundraising? Anybody have ideas about that? Can you imagine doing your fundraising work without a strong board or without a fundraising plan? And in fact, in 2014, the nonprofit research committee did a survey, a nationwide survey of 1,800 nonprofits in the country, and asked them if they were meeting their fundraising goals, and if so, why they thought they were. And they left that why blank, so they didn't give them things to fill in, they left it blank for folks to say. And guess what they said? The number one reason for the folks that were meeting their goal, what was that number one reason? Capacity. It was organizational capacity. Also, for the folks that were not meeting their goals, they asked why not? Same answer, organizational capacity. And so when we think about organizational capacity, a lot of times we think about staffing and people to do things. And it is that, but it's also other things. So they asked these organizations that were meeting their goals, what were they doing in terms of organizational capacity? And they said they're doing planning, so creating a plan, looking at the goals of that plan in a regular way, checking them off, adjusting along the way, actually using that plan, working on board engagement, culture of organizational commitment. So across the board in the organization, there's a commitment to raise funds. And what they said that meant was, we don't expect our executive director to do every single thing. We have an organizational commitment to raise funds so that we let the people that raise funds for us have the time to do that work. And that work is shared across the organization. And then staff and leadership preparedness, which is professional development. So classes, workshops, things like y'all are doing here, participating in AFP. So those are the top 4 things that folks are doing. The ones that are meeting their goals for fundraising, that's what we're doing. So how does that tie to Pathways? That's a lot of what we do at Pathways. We work to help organizations get on this wheel of capacity building. And this is a way that we look at our work. It helps us measure our work so we can think about organizations and think about where are they on this wheel. And the wheel starts with assessing. So Pathways helps organizations assess what are our capacity needs, what do we need right now. We have a process that organizations for $100 in Western North Carolina can undertake the CCAT. How many of y'all done the CCAT process? So that is an online process where keyboard and staff members go through a survey that's pretty intense and ask a bunch of questions about the organization, and it spits out a report that a computer with the TCC group spits out a report that is very long, but Pathways takes it and summarizes it and makes it usable for boards and staff. And it lets you know where are your capacities, where are you strong, where are you not strong, where do you need to build before you can even get to the next level. And so this is an assessment process that we can offer groups. And if groups don't want to do this online assessment, there's several other tools like self-regulator, the ones that you use yourself at your organization on our website. The next step on the wheel is agree. So ideally, a group will do this assessment. The report will say, this is what you're strong at, this is what you need to work on. And then a Pathways coach can come and work with the organization to do an organization coaching session to help the organization figure out what they need to do. So from this, we hope that groups agree with what they need to do as a board, as a staff. The next logical step is act, so do something about it, and then achieve. And achieve your goals. And we measure groups where they are on this wheel along the way. Those of y'all that have worked with us know that we send surveys out at 3 months and 6 months and ask, how are you doing? And we keep up with that because it tells us how we're doing also in our work. This process that I talked about just now is not for brand new organizations. It's not something that a brand new fledgling nonprofit could really take on and do well. It's for groups that have a little bit of infrastructure already built. So been around a couple years, have a little bit bigger mission, have a couple people on the staff. And we'll talk about that more in just a minute. And I wanted to just throw the nonprofit life cycle to know that different groups are at different places on this life cycle. It goes from idea to closure. The ideal place to be is at the top there, impact expansion. And maybe go a little bit over, but then come back and always keep renewing the organization once you get to a good sustaining point. So what we like to do is to get groups on this wheel of capacity building and keep them on the wheel of capacity building. So they may do an assessment, and then maybe a training, and then maybe a coaching of another sort, a capacity grant, whatever we can do to help keep those groups moving along this life cycle, and providing services that are applicable for different points of the life cycle. When we look at our work overall, this is what we have laid out as our theory of change, and I know that y'all probably can't see this, but I'll just talk it through real quick. There's 3 really big buckets of Pathways work. There's services for individuals, and I'll talk more about what these are specifically in a minute. And our services for individuals, we're looking for our leaders learning something. Are they taking something back to their organization that they can use? So we're checking on that every time we offer a building skills services or service for individuals. There's services for organizations. So the wheel of capacity building services I was just talking about, those are for organizations. So we go out and work with organizations. And there we're looking at our organizations meeting their goals that they set out. And then the last bucket of our work is cohort work. So we do work with certain different cohorts, and we'll talk a little bit about them later, but it's groups of organizations. So we work with individuals, organizations, and groups of organizations. So building skill services. This is where we work with individuals. I know a lot of y'all have taken advantage of some of these. We're the site coordinator, the Western North Carolina coordinator for the Duke Nonprofit Management Program. So when those classes come around, we help find instructors, find places to do them, help coordinate the materials. Debbie is often at those classes. This is Debbie, our coworker in the back of the room. And y'all have a list of the upcoming classes on your table. We're about halfway through this semester. So take a look at that and sign up for any that you'd like. We also offer some scholarships to those classes. So if you need a little help to go, we can help. We every year put on the Nonprofit Leadership Forum in the fall. It's a large gathering. It's our largest gathering of nonprofit leaders. It's a ollie income free. Come learn something that's a little bit cutting edge that nonprofits are often thinking about in that moment, that we can bring somebody in, a national expert, to talk about it with us, and then we usually talk amongst ourselves. So that's usually in the fall. In the spring, coming up April 23rd, so mark your calendars, is the nonprofit compliance update. And if you've ever been to that, that is like a fire hose of information coming to you about nonprofit compliance. But we do it every year so that you can take what you can take, go back and work it, and come back another year. That's April 23rd. So I hope y'all can come to that. And then we do webinars in the fall and the spring. And the reason we do webinars, well, several reasons, but one of the main reasons is to reach out beyond Buncombe and Henderson County. Because a lot of folks can take advantage of our services, because we're here, we do the Duke classes here, but there are a lot of folks in the outer areas that we want to reach. And so these webinars are free, and they're super high quality. We have one coming up at the beginning of May, I believe it's May 3rd, on fundraising. And sign up for that. If you're on our email list, you'll get an invite to that. So we try to reach way out with those. And then we do some other regional workshops in different areas, in the cohort areas, and we'll talk about those just in this minute. So those are building skill services where folks come to us to learn. We put on a big workshop. We do a forum. People come to us. Our strengthening organization services are a lot more intense. So this is where Pathways goes into an organization and works at the organization. And there are several different ways to do this. We have on-site trainings, and these are fundamentals of nonprofit management. So there's board best practices, fundraising for sustainability, which I brought a information sheet on that one if you're interested in taking a look at that and seeing whether it's a good time for your organization to take part in that one. Advocacy, which right now has been underwritten by a donor, and so those are free to nonprofits right now. The others are done on a sliding scale, $300 to $500. So it's a very subsidized sliding scale. Our funders underwrite that a lot. There's also organizational culture that folks can take advantage of, and financial leadership. So helping your board learn how to be financial leaders. How do we read reports? What are they telling us? How do we look at a budget? How do we be good financial stewards of the organization? These are all on our website. You can go back and look at them whenever you like. We also do the coaching, which I talked about just a minute ago. So that usually is a follow-up to the online assessment, the CCAT. You send out the coach to come and work with your organization. We do a sustainability consulting, which is for really for organizations that are pretty far along in that life cycle. It's a deep dive into both finances and programming, and looking at where they overlap and where is our mission money matrix, if y'all heard about that. Where is our mission and our programming and our fundraising overlapping? So where are we having the most impact? We also have a financial coaching service, which sends a coach into an organization that may have a financial mess that they need to unravel. It's completely confidential. All of these services are completely confidential. And so this coach can go in and work with organizations on setting up QuickBooks, or setting up your budget, or building some skills around how to manage that system, setting up policies, things like that. It's very individualized. And then finally, we have a bucket of capacity grants that are provided by our funders. These are funder-invited grants where folks can apply and receive a grant of $7,500 if it's awarded up to $7,500 to do a project in your organization. It could be strategic planning, it could be a development plan, a marketing plan, some combination of that, succession planning. So bigger projects, bigger concrete projects we can help with.
Jeannette,
Yes.
for the capacity grant, are there programs that you have to do in your series before you're eligible to ask for that?
Most of the time, yes. Our funders want to see that organizations are on this wheel. That's how it came to be, is that funders want to see, and organizations need to know, what do we want to do as an organization, and are we in agreement to that so that we can act on it? So we do. Ideally, an organization would do an assessment and a coaching, at least. Sometimes if organizations do a training, they can come out of that with a set of priorities that could lead to a capacity grant. And then in very rare circumstances, some organizations may be able to go straight to capacity grants if they're doing a work that is a priority of a funder that needs to invest in that work right then. But that doesn't happen very well.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking. Any other questions at this point? And then finally, our cohort work, which I mentioned earlier, we have 3 different types of cohorts. We have regional cohorts where we're working with folks in Avery, Mitchell, and Yancey County, the 7 southwest counties, far west counties, and then also in McDowell and Burke. And so we have folks on the ground in those organizations that are coordinating with nonprofits in that area to put on regional workshops that nonprofits are asking for. And then also to help folks access these deeper level services that I've talked about. Our focus area cohorts are really funder-driven cohorts. We have a free clinics cohort that's been going on for about 5 years now. And that's a group of most of the free clinics and Good Samaritan clinics in the area come together and talk about what they have in common, how they're dealing with this ever-shifting environment that they're trying to work in. What do they need individually, and what can we do collectively as a group? And then Healthy Food Access is one of our newer cohorts, and that's similar. Those are groups that are working on helping food groups do their work. So groups that are providing food pantries or hubs for distribution of food, all kinds of different things, gardening in schools, but they all have in common that focus of food access. And then finally, our nonprofit leadership program. How many of y'all have done that here? I've seen several folks are in it now. Yeah. And that's our most intense service that we offer. It's a 5-month or 6-month program where we bring a group of leaders together that are beginning their journey as nonprofit leaders and help them understand their leadership style, and that they even have a leadership style sometimes, and how to use that leadership style and your personality together to be a good leader, and what's your vision for leadership. And those are invitations by funders also to be a part of those. And if you or somebody you know would like to be a part of those, talk to one of our funders if you have a connection with them, the Community Foundation or United Way or Cherokee Preservation Foundation or Mission Help, and just let them know that's something you're interested in. Say, please, put my name in the hat for that, because I would like to do it. It'll start again in the fall. So that is a big old nutshell of our services. And we wanted to just, do you have any final words here?
The only other thing I was going to add, as I was hearing you introduce yourself, I was curious, because Jeannette and I were talking about this presentation and what appears to be or is on its surface, a very specific group of Association of Fundraising Professionals. But I was curious, how many of you, and I know the answer is a few of you do because of your titles, but would you raise your hand if you have a responsibility at your organization that is outside of fundraising, marketing, or how many of you are executive directors? So that's like 20%. So, which means that fundraising is only one of your 17 hats, or whatever, however many hats. And I was the executive director of a small nonprofit for several years before coming here, and I think it's one of the most underappreciated roles It's right there, and no need to compare, but in the space of public school teachers. No better or worse, but I think that those are two great examples of many. Is nonprofit executive directors, especially small nonprofits, but any nonprofit. But also employees of nonprofits, regardless of your exact title, because when I said how many of you do something other than fundraising, the vast majority of you raised your hand, and if you didn't, that more than likely means that if that's your sole job, that you work at a nonprofit that's just big enough to have a full-time fundraising professional, but you probably should have 2 or 3. So that awareness is clear to us. I don't think it's clear to a lot of folks, and maybe not to all funders, but the reason that we are so supportive of Pathways, and it really is a question about other places in the state, again, not for comparison, but I've yet to see another capacity building organization that's as in-depth and really is trying to work with small, medium, and large nonprofits wherever you are on that cycle. So I encourage you, because you do have other hats that you're wearing, that if you improve your skills or your coworkers improve their skills in one of these areas, then hopefully that will remove some level of tension or stress that allows you to do your job better. And then the last thing I'll say about that is when you are applying for funds, whether or not it's with one of these funders or the funders below that support this work from other areas of the state, there's often, as you know, questions around your capacity to support the project or whatever. And Pathways, being on the wheel and being involved with Pathways, in addition to just being good for your organization, is not a terrible thing to put in a grant application, because lots of folks know about WNC Nonprofit Pathways. It does have a really solid reputation, as evidenced by being supported by the Duke Endowment and others. So as hopefully a practical tidbit, if you are in the grant writing world, as I think all of you are, in that being part of Pathways and mentioning that, clearly I think would be a benefit to your application.
Do you have any questions for us?
Thank you.
Well, take the rest of this time, if you're going back to the snow and you want to get a head start, that's great. If you want to visit some more, please feel free to do that. If you've got cards for me for next month. And thank you all for coming. It was great to see so many new people today.
Thank you.